I'm Eleni Jokos and welcome to Connecting Africa, the show in which we look at the stories and people impacting how the continent conducts its business. This month, we have some great guests who offer fascinating insights into how they see Africa developing over the coming decades. Now, Ashish Thakkar started his first business at just 15 with the help of a $5,000 loan. Today, he sits at the top of Mara Group, which is across 25 African countries. It employs around 19,000 people in its portfolio of companies and is involved in everything from technology to financial services, manufacturing, real estate, and agriculture. And we start the show with a conversation I had with him recently. I want you to take me back to when you were thinking about Mara phones and bringing manufacturing capacity on the continent. And you're basically starting from scratch. What does it take to build that kind of capacity from zero?
It was a tough and long journey because putting up assembly is a lot easier and it's a lot simpler. But in the true sense, that's not shifting the narrative for our continent. It's not making us a high-tech, high-precision manufacturing destination like you and I would like and many others would like. At the same time, when you think about why that is not happening, there's a psychological block about, is it because of human capital? And that's wrong, because there's loads of amazing electricians and electrical engineers and people hungry to learn. It's the infrastructure is much better, as you know, in our countries. It's become so much better now. And, you know, we're ready to do this. And this is why when Mara Phones was born, we always wanted to make sure that it's truly, authentically made in Africa, manufactured, meaning even the main boards and subboards are made on the continent. And that was really important for us.
Do you think that we're going to go to a point where it'll be made in Africa and that Africa can control a large part of global manufacturing capacity where it will be respected, like what we've seen coming through from Asia?
It's a really good point, Eleni, and I think absolutely eventually yes, but I think there's a transition to that, right? And the baby steps are that firstly, we're such huge consumers as a continent, right? When you think about over 1 billion people, we've got the Africa Continental Free Trade Area now making us one market in the true sense. With all of that coming into play, our governments, you know, improving infrastructure constantly, the middle market, the middle segment of the market growing constantly. Our populations are growing rapidly, as you know. So with all of that in place, the first thing we've got to do in terms of truly make high quality products locally, because manufacturing locally it's not just ticking a box, it's making sure we can do it to global standards or even better.
So when you say producing quality goods, on the same level as what you see coming through from international markets, because let's be realistic, you're competing with phones made in South Korea, in China, in the US, in Europe. Was it hard to kind of meet that standard, and what did it take? What did you need to do? Did you bring in skills and then do skills transfer?
You know, we've got so much amazing skills on our continent that they're ready to learn whatever needs to be taught to them. So I think all of that has been there, but the second part is, and more importantly, is making sure we're not compromising on the quality of components that go into it. You can do all of that stuff perfectly, but then if you start cutting a few corners, that's where you get stuck.
To what extent do you think we can truly meet up to that expectation of digitalizing Africa if we don't actually put a smartphone in the hands of people, even in the most remote areas of the continent?
Did you read our mission statement before we met?
No, I didn't actually.
Because that is exactly it. You're absolutely right. No matter how many USSD compliant applications we make in order to serve them in that surfaced way through the so-called dumb phones, until people don't have a real smartphone, and I'm not talking smart feature phones, which are tiny little things with 2-inch screens and just because they're color and have a few other apps, don't make them smartphones. We need to truly transition people. And frankly, networks are there, everything is there. The key element has been affordability and quality. You can get really cheap phones, but they won't last, and that doesn't help.
So in terms of increasing industrial capacity on the continent, increasing manufacturing capacity, I want to see processing plants, I want to see factories, because that still is going to be an important part of the African narrative. As much as we want to digitalize, we still need, the infrastructure.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you feeling optimistic that we can get that done? And what does it really take? Because even though you're in the tech space and you're in digitalization, you still needed to build a factory.
When Mara did this, we didn't do it with the intention of making a quick buck. Of course, we're in it for the long run and we're in it to create a huge amount of value, but practically we did it to shift the narrative that we as Africa can do this and can do it without compromising, without cutting corners, without kind of doing it piecemeal. If we do it properly, and it's possible.
It's always inspiring to hear what Ashish has to say about the possibilities on offer throughout the continent. He cut his business teeth in East Africa, and that's where we head after the break as we sit down for a refreshing cup of tea. Welcome back. The East African country of Rwanda is well known for many reasons. It is considered to be one of the continent's most tech-savvy countries, but it is also a place of incredible beauty. Its mountain gorilla population attracts visitors from around the world, but this undulating countryside also provides the perfect conditions for what is rapidly becoming a much sought-after commodity. It is known by some as the land of 1,000 hills. Beautiful rolling countryside that stretches as far as the eye can see. As well as being highly distinctive, Rwanda's physical geography combined with its climate provide the perfect conditions for growing tea. With exports generating nearly $90 million per year, it is the country's most highly valued export commodity. In the beautiful Gisakura Mountains, tea leaves are hand-picked for Rwanda mountain tea. Established in 2006, it invests in the cultivation and production of tea.
We produce annually 15,000 tonnes of dry tea that we export. That's about $30 to $35 million a year in revenue. Our Rwanda mountain tea is appreciated because it is a mountain tea which is produced at a level of more than 2,000 metres above sea level. Since we use the technique of plucking using hands, not by machines, it's the people who come and choose the good leaves. That's why we have the tea appreciated all over the world. Apart from having a production unit, we also have a blending unit, and for the last 2 or 3 years we have started exporting this tea, especially to African countries like Ghana, Benin, Burkina Faso and Senegal.
Rwanda Mountain Tea is of course not the only company producing tea. Silverback Tea is named after the gorillas that have made this country their own. Making the most of the environment is central to the company's business philosophy.
You have favorable climatic conditions to produce very good quality teas, which are superior to anything else in Africa. The current factory production is going to be 240 tons this year, and that will escalate to 10 times that number within the next decade.
In the past decade, the amount of tea factories has nearly doubled across the country. Currently, Rwanda produces over 30,000 metric tons per year. While the majority of the tea is currently exported to countries outside of the continent, there is optimism that demand in Africa might increase in the future. Both Rwandan and foreign investors have been grasping this opportunity and have expansion plans brewing.
The quality of tea that we have in the cup is starting from the field. East Africa or Africa is a hub of tea production and trading. For instance, in East Africa is where we have the second world largest tea auction. So we see really that Africa has potential in terms of tea business. We've seen that tea is really very important, not only for bringing much revenue, but also employment. The vision is just to improve, keep improving and changing, right from the farmers, of course, because at the end of the day, they are the one putting the first effort, but also seeing the Rwandan teas is set in another level, global level. So we want to see those branded teas coming from Rwanda.
Currently, there's a lot of tea sold into North African countries, particularly Sudan and Egypt and Ethiopia. They like to buy very clean black teas, and they are available from this country. And I think there's a real opportunity to promote trade and to promote local people to drink the tea here. I mean, they have the best tea in the world available to them, and yet very few people in the countries, whatever origin countries there are in Africa, very few people actually get the opportunity to buy and to taste and drink those good quality teas. So I think the industry really need to have a look at that, because there's a very big opportunity there for sure. People are becoming creative and trying to encourage the younger generation to drink tea. So the good thing about the Rwanda tea is that it has both flavor and it has character and aroma. So I believe that this tea will be a good fit into those new niche products. And I think there's a real opportunity to promote trade and to promote local people to drink the tea here.
As tastes change, new markets open up. It is something that Rwanda Mountain Tea plans to be ready for.
Our vision is to always increase our production capacity because there is the market. For example, this inter-African market. We must have the capacity to continue to serve these new opportunities that are coming.
Rwanda is a truly beautiful place and one which I've been lucky enough to visit on many occasions. It's great to see that produce grown in the country is finding an ever-increasing audience both at home and further afield. Hello, this is Connecting Africa and I'm Eleni Jakos. In this show, we meet the people who are transforming how Africa does business. We're looking at how an ever more connected continent is changing how individuals and industries operate. Next, we turn our attention to North Africa and the world of pharmaceuticals. Founded in 1976, Sotherma is one of Morocco's leading companies. With 35 laboratories and 6 specialized production units, it has brought 300 different pharmaceutical products to market and can produce up to 60 million units every year. At its helm, a remarkable woman.
I joined the company in 1997, and I'm proud to say that it's the only job I had from the beginning. So I started working from the bottom of, so as a worker, by mixing myself drugs, and then I did many things to become 4 years after general manager of the company. When I started, it was just a small one. It was about 100 people. 20 years after, we are more than 1,200. So it was done with a very strict organization, and especially by manufacturing medicines. Sotherma now is the first company in terms of sales in Morocco, and the first company having the first plant in West African country, which is Senegal. Going to Africa has one goal, is to permit to this population to have good medicines with quality for this population, because you know, medicines are different from region to other, and to give them quality product with a good price. So now we are selling about 3 million vials a year, which is enough to treat all the diabetes in Morocco. This insulin is also exported in some African countries and some Arabic countries. As you know, all Arabic countries has the same issue with diabetes, unfortunately. So we are very proud to export this very special product, which is very innovative, very technique product outside Morocco. We are exporting products in Africa, but really my aim is to manufacture these products in African countries, which is very important for these countries, because you have to know that more than 95% of products are imported from African countries. There is no capability of manufacturing there. That's why it is very important to invest on industrial sites there. In 2013, I had the honor of hosting His Majesty King Mohammed VI and His Excellency President Macky Sall during the opening of our subsidiary in Dakar, one of the biggest pharmaceutical plants in West Africa. We have projects of subsidiaries in North and West Africa. Our goal is to reduce the continent's dependency on imports. Our medicines are distributed in more than 40 African countries. I'm focusing on strategy of penetrating our products in Africa. My wish is first of all to look at Sotema as a citizen company first with big values. For me, it's the most important thing, and it's my daily work also, because you know everything sales are easy to do. Easy, not so easy, but you know when you have the expertise, we can do it. But giving the good image, working with good values, I think it's more difficult to do daily. So it's passion, and it's also, you know, a duty for my dad. He left me something, and I have to take it and to push it as far as I can.
So plenty to think about after that very valuable insight into how the pharmaceutical industry is developing in Morocco. We stay in North Africa after the break when we head to Egypt for a look at cafe culture and how coffee fits onto the menu. Hello again. Now on the show, we strive where possible to avoid stereotypes and cliches, but I fear that on this occasion, that might not be possible. In the Egyptian capital of Cairo, cafe culture rules. At the very heart of that love affair is coffee. Discussions of literature, politics, and much more take place in the countless cafes that are found everywhere in the city. Our next guest saw a massive opportunity in his nation's love of the small, delicious-smelling bean. His business venture opened up possibilities for coffee growers throughout the continent.
I'm Karim Hassan, and I'm connecting Africa via the trade of coffee across borders. I'll tell you something. The history of coffee isn't set in stone. It's there. But there's a lot of mystical stories and approaches and theories about where coffee was invented, how it was invented, or not invented, discovered. It's an agricultural product. However, yes, I do agree, it is deeply rooted in our culture. Deeply, as far back as the 17th or 16th century. However, there is a new wave of coffee. Coffee will always be there, and the treatment of the bean or the agricultural product has evolved and has changed, and this is where I sit and play. Well, the story, or one of the main core business missions of Seven Fortunes is being transparent, being cultural, and providing a sensory experience to clients. That being said, we are in tune buying coffees from different coffee growing regions. We get to buy coffees from different countries in Africa quite smoothly. So for instance, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda are three major coffee growing regions in Africa. And those are the three major fruity dominant flavors in coffee that you can find. So being so close to them is a pleasure, I would say. Single sourcing coffees, buying from single estates, buying direct trade is a mandatory or sort of a way of business for us at Seven Fortunes. That being said, we have strong relationships with coffee producers or farmers. So if you pick up a bag of Seven Fortunes coffee from Ethiopia or from Kenya, you will see the producer's name. You will see his family estate, and you will see that his hard work is being exposed to the end user. Now more than ever, in the past 6 to 7 months, our relationships with African coffee producers have strengthened. being an importer in Egypt, I import raw materials, or what we call unfinished products, where we have a free trade agreement. This allows me to bring the product or the unfinished product in a very smooth way without having many restrictions and taxes involved. I can buy the product, I can ship it in seamlessly. This wasn't the case a year ago. What the entire nation or the entire continent of Africa is trying to do is trying to allow the freedom, the movement of goods and people throughout its nations. Obviously, this will entail the transfer of quality products among all, the transfer of knowledge, and in turn also increase the wages, predominantly women that you work in those producing countries, which represent 70% of all the labor in the coffee production in Africa. The industry itself, it's a very dynamic business. The industry of specialty coffee has been changing, vastly changing within every 6 months. And I do try to trade more with African countries such as Ethiopia, Kenya, and Rwanda. Those are three of my favorite type of coffees. If you ask me for my favorite coffee, it's a coffee that's adventurous and fruity. And that's predominantly grown in Africa. As a mission for Seven Fortunes, we try to introduce specialty coffee to the end user. So I have a responsibility to educate consumers. That being said, the way or the avenue I'm taking is to give them a little curiosity and taste of funky, I would say, or adventurous coffees. And that's what we find in African coffees. But that's why I'm trying to import now greater quality and greater quantity of Kenyan coffee so that the end user can see what we're trying to explain and see what the excitement inside and behind the doors is all about.
And I, for one, cannot wait for the day when I will once again be sitting in one of those Cairo cafes, chatting to whoever comes along about whatever we choose to talk about. That, for me, is one of the joys of helping tell Africa's story. It is a vast continent filled with inspirational and innovative people who want to talk business. I have loved listening to what our guests have had to say during the show, and I hope you have as well. Please read more stories about people like them on our website or keep in touch with us via social media. Until the next time, stay connected.